You are listening to A Path to a New You, a podcast about mental health as well as veterans issues. Today's topic, I want to talk about ways to avoid family arguments during the holiday seasons, during the holidays. I know Thanksgiving's coming up. That's where a lot of families get together and, they enjoy dinner and whatnot. And it's one of the holidays where everybody has the opportunity to get together. I know with my family and whatnot, Thanksgiving's the only holiday where everybody gets together. And I think we have, depending on the year, we have between 8 to 12 relatives that show up. So yeah, for me, Thanksgiving is I guess the biggest holiday for us, for my family. Anyway, I want to talk about ways to avoid family arguments during the holidays. I know there's a lot of stuff going on these days, especially with the election and whatnot. I don't want to talk about politics in my podcast. I don't, but we already know like, hey, there's election that came up and such. So that could be a topic that someone in your family during the holidays may bring up. And I know for a lot of us, it's a trigger. So here's some ways. I got about five. Maybe I'll come up with a couple more throughout, just through my head and whatnot. But five ways where you can avoid family arguments during the holidays. So one of them is reset your mindset ahead of time. What does that mean? It means remind yourself why you're going to be there at the family gathering. It's to celebrate, not debate. Just think about that. Reset your mindset ahead of time. Think ahead of time and just, realize, you know what? I'm at the family gathering to celebrate, to talk about other people's stuff. You haven't seen each other in maybe over a year. You want to catch up on things. So you're there to celebrate, not debate. Identify the trigger that may come up and figure out how you will respond to those triggers. Just think about it ahead of time, so reset your mindset ahead of time. Another one is resist taking the bait. What does I mean? What I mean by that? If someone brings up a controversial issue, pause, breathe, and don't react. Just take a few seconds, pause, and like, you know what? This is a trigger. If I take the bait, it's gonna escalate. Pause, breathe, and don't react. And just say, you could also say, "Hey, I know this is an issue. It's a issue for you, or the issue that just came up recently. But you know what? We're here to like hang out, have a good time. Let's talk about this some other time." You can always say that. Say it politely, and most people will understand. Some people, I know a few people who do not like the answer no, so they'll try to like continue. Like, you know what? This is not the time for it. Let's let's celebrate. We can talk about this some other time. But today, everybody's here at a gathering. Let's hang out, have a good time. Let's talk about a different topic. Like, hey, how have you been? What you been doing lately? It's been a year. What's new? That's my third thing is guide the conversation back to something less controversial. Like I just mentioned, hey, you know what? I haven't seen you in about a year. What's going on? What's new with you? How's so and so? You know? If tension builds, ask questions that shift the focus on something else. get to another topic that's less controversial, that brings less tension. Number four is listen and show that you care, but don't get competitive. So you can listen to them, nod your head, you know what? Yeah, I get it. I get it. You know what? It's it sucks. I get it. Nod your head. Don't be competitive because then that just escalates the situation. We don't want a heated argument in front of family members of like, I don't know, 10, 12. Some people have maybe 20 people there. Show your interest without ongoing in debate and arguing. Show your interest without arguing. Nod your head, yes. And you know what? Don't argue about who's right, who's wrong. Just like, you know what? I get it. You know what? Lots going on. In a situation where I'm hanging out with family members and stuff, we usually there's some sports that are on. So we're watching TV. So I know there's a few people who are cooking in the kitchen, others are in the living room watching TV. I always talk about sports. I always talk about, yeah, you know what? I got a lot of stuff going on. We just mentioned it. We try to avoid politics in our family. Sometimes it comes up and you're like, oh man, here we go again. You know what? I agree with you so much, but let's not get into this right now. There's times where we can, like, hey, if it's just us four together, yeah, we could talk about it now, but we got like seven or eight other people with us, and it's just gonna escalate the whole situation. We don't want that. So yeah, just find a different conversation to talk about. Find a different topic. Sometimes I'll talk about like what's going on in my life. Sports. Like, hey, what about that game last week, or whatever it could be. You know what? Sometimes I'll just talk about different stuff. Someone will ask me, "Hey, how's your podcast going?" I'm like, it's going okay. You know what? I try to do one a week, but sometimes, depending on how busy I am, maybe it's like one every 2 weeks or one a month. Speaking of which, I'm going to try to do more of these podcasts, like at least one a week. And I'll probably just start doing more of those during the winter when I don't have a whole lot more going on. Again, resist taking the bait. Guide the conversation to back to something less confrontational. Attention builds. Ask questions that shift the focus on something else. Again, before you arrive, just reset your mindset. It's like, you know what? Someone might bring this up. Identify your triggers and think about how you're gonna handle those triggers. And like again, resist taking the bait. Someone may just like try to bring something up and try to get you aroused, try to get you upset. Resist, resist taking the bait. Guide the conversation back to something less controversial, sports. Your TV shows, series. What's going on? You can also, like I said, listen and show that you care, but don't get competitive. Start getting competitive, you're like start arguing, it's going to escalate. We do not want that, especially in a gathering where all your family members might just meet once a year because you know what, your family members live, some of your relatives like 4 or 5 hours away, maybe even longer. They come from across the country to come see you guys and see you like once a year, and Thanksgiving may be it. Christmas might be that time. For like I said, for my family, it's mainly Thanksgiving. That's when we all get together on Thanksgiving. And the other holidays they're not big holidays. We don't have a lot of people coming over for like Christmas or anything like that. Anyway, those are some of them. Some of the things you can do to prevent these arguments, to avoid arguments during the holidays. There's many other ways you can do. Everybody's got their own ways of dealing with certain situations. And again, I just want to just remember you are there, you are at a family gathering, you are at a family gathering, you haven't seen each other in, I don't know, some of your relatives in over a year. You might see each other once or twice a year. The time is meant to be spent talking about memories, positive things, catching up on everyone's lives, and not to debate. That's the reason why you guys are together. Celebrate, eat food, watch some sports if you guys are into sports, and you're there not to debate, not to get in heated arguments. And I know it happens. It happens everywhere. And these are just some ideas what you could do to prevent that from happening. I hope you learned something today. And yeah, I hope you guys learned something today. Maybe some of these ideas might help you in your upcoming holiday. I know Thanksgiving's coming up. Hopefully, some of these things I talk about will help prevent arguments. Who knows? I know there's usually one person in one family, someone in everyone's family will try to bring up politics or anything like that. Stay clear of it. Maybe take a few of the things I talked about into account, and they may work. Hopefully, they do. And enjoy your holidays. Again, you are listening to A Path to New You. I talk about mental health issues as well as veterans issues. If you know someone who'd like to be a guest on my show, whether you're a veteran or you work in the mental health field and you think the area where you work at in the mental health field is a great topic to talk about, please reach out to me. I am always looking for guests on the show, and it's been a while since I had a guest on the show, and I would love to meet and talk to that person. And yeah, you can find my podcast on most major platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, YouTube, Amazon Music, Audible, and there might be a couple other ones I'm missing, but it's all free. I know Audible, you sometimes you gotta pay, but for to listen to some podcasts and stuff, you don't have to pay. I know in Audible you got books you gotta pay for. You don't have to pay for mine. Just download the app. If you don't have an iPhone or anything like that, just download the app and look up A Path to New You. You'll find it, and you can listen to it for free. I do have a Facebook page for my podcast. I will put a link in my comment section where I talk about the topics I talked about today. I'll put a link there and also put a link to my private practice as well. If you have any questions or anything like that, please reach out. I'd like to talk to you about them, and maybe we can figure things out. If there's a topic you'd like to know more about, please let me know. I'm always looking for more topics. Again, you are listening to A Path to New You. Have a good rest of the day, and until next time, be well.